Hey, what's up? This is a Nissan Micra buying guide. So I'm a big fan of Nissan Micras. I've just washed this. I'm going to sell it because I sort of need to move on to something else. But this has served me very well, and I highly recommend Micras to anyone that is looking for a cheap car to run that's reliable. So this is from 1996. This is a pre-facelift one. You can tell by the black bumper. A lot of people think that the pre-face ones look better. They're mostly the same, other than some minor changes. You can a post-face lift one will have a sort of the bumper will be coloured the same as the rest of the car. So this is a K11, which basically means Mark 11. You've got K10s, which the older ones have had one of those. They're a little bit more finicky. There's more stuff that goes wrong with them. They're nice. I like them, but they're kind of more box shaped and probably more dangerous as well. I mean, these aren't the safest amount of cars ever, because security crash impact sort of stuff has sort of got a lot better since sort of the 2000s, but it's not as bad as cars in the 80s. So if you're buying one, basically the engines are usually very, very, very solid, so you typically don't have to worry about those. What you want to look for is the sills. I've had mine welded. They do rust. So when you're buying one, make sure you take a dirty pair of jeans, or some jeans that you don't mind sort of messing up when you go to buy them, and get right underneath the car, look at the sills, see are they rusted or not. If they are rusted, basically it's going to cost you a couple of £100 to fix it. Find a cheap, down and dirty garage that can do it. You don't need a perfect job, just enough to get through the MOT. I actually only found a cheapo garage. One garage basically said right off the car it's not worth doing. Another garage said, yeah, just £150 cash in hand. So they probably didn't pay VAT, and they did a job, and it's held up for a couple of years. So yeah, basically you want to check the sills. What else is there? There's not a lot that can go wrong. I mean, parts are very, very cheap. I've always just used eBay parts. The CV joints, which kind of connect the wheel to the gearbox, both the CV joints went, and that was cheap to fix. There's a bit of a faff trying to find the exact one, because the CV joints are different on the face and on the pre-facelift and the post-facelift. But so that wasn't difficult to sort out though. It's just standard stuff that goes wrong with cars, like the exhaust was blowing, got a new exhaust off eBay, £60, and yeah, it was cheap to fix. Yeah, don't know what else to say. So price wise, basically you should be looking at a beaten up one that's not too bad is about £300. Car with serious issues is probably 150 to 200, which is kind of scrap value, and a decent one is somewhere between 500 to 600 quid. I'm going to hopefully try and sell this one for 600. I actually bought it for 600, but I've looked after it well, and it's not going to depreciate anymore, so I think I'll get 600. Might settle at 500 if depending on what goes on, but yeah, I'll see how it goes. But literally this car is perfect. There's nothing needs doing on it whatsoever. Well, there's a little bit of like surface rust that you could probably file down and spray, but it'll fly for its next MOT, which is due in March. This is November. I did have a sub in this. I replaced the radio. That was cheap to do. I replaced the speakers. The speakers had sort of blown, so I replaced those. That was cheap to do and easy. I mean, I didn't know anything about cars when I got this, and I've basically taught myself how to do everything. I found a guy that's like an amateur mechanic and did the first service with him, and I just sort of acted like his apprentice for a couple of hours, and I learned how to do everything, you know, oil changes, coolant changes. I did the CV joints with him as well. So yeah, like very, very easy to work on, and yeah, I highly recommend learning. I've saved a lot of money doing my own bits and bobs, so yeah, it's good. I'll show you the engine. I've just locked it. This is the engine bay. Yeah, loads of room to work on. Like a lot of modern cars, you can hardly get anywhere. But yeah, the rocker cover actually that started leaking, and I bought a new gasket off eBay, and I bought replacement bolts, and fitted that. That wasn't too bad. Obviously, I did the air filter with the service. Yeah. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments, and if you, yeah, I'd appreciate a subscribe and a like if you found this useful. And yeah, insurance is very, very cheap on these because it's a basically it's a grandma car. There's a lot of these cars that you'll find for sale. Old ladies have had them, so they're usually in pretty good nick, and they've taken them for services and stuff regularly. So a lot of grandmas, a lot of pizza delivery drivers have them as well. Those are probably in worse condition, but yeah, find a good one out of the way in the countryside or something, owned by an old lady, and you will be you'll have a good car in your hands. So yeah, insurance is cheap. Road tax is, I think I was paying about £10, 10, 11, 13 quid or something a month. So it's pretty cheap on road tax. There's another video on my I actually took the passenger seat out and turned this into a mini camper van, and I got the windows professionally tinted as well, and those are the wind deflectors, Heko wind deflectors, which are, I think, make it look nice, and they're useful as well. This is the absolute base model. There's oh yeah, different models. So I mean, obviously there's ones that come with the sunroof. Probably it's better to not get the sunroof because I've heard they leak. I've never had one with a sunroof, but yeah, yeah, just if you're looking at a car with a sunroof, check it out because they can leak. It might be that you can fix it yourself. You can buy the tubes or whatever, and it's I don't know how big of a job it is. This one's got wind-up windows. Yeah, it's always been. I've got used to just leaning over and doing the passenger one while I'm driving. But less to go wrong. Although it's probably easy to fit. Fix the electric ones if they go wrong. There's a very nice limited edition paint job which changes. It's like a yellow colour that changes depending on which way you look at. I think it's called a Mystique or something or other. I've seen those come up for sale. Those are very nice. So places to look at, obviously Gumtree. You want to have a look at Facebook is good. eBay cars, typically they're not that great. They're usually like sort of ones that are, you know, they're going and or they've got issues. So I'm not a fan of eBay for bargain basement cars. Car and Classic, sometimes you get people selling. You get some very low mileage ones on Car and Classic. They can be a little bit expensive, but you can get some really mint ones on Car and Classic. So yeah, do check out that. I think it's carandclassic.com. If you Google it, you'll find it. Mileage. So basically, this one I got at about 45, and over the course of 3 years, I've got it up to I think 80 and 90 or something. 82. Hey, sorry about that. Battery ran out on my phone, so I charged it and I'm back. It's getting spooky out here. So the mileage-wise, basically, it doesn't really matter that much what the mileage is like. If you see something with 30k miles, that's frigging great. You will get some old granny cars that are like that. Car and Classic, you'll likely get them like that. Sometimes people will try and charge you £1,000 or something for them, but put in an offer of 500-600 quid and see what you get. I mean, I think the engines, they can easily last like 150 miles, 1,000 miles. If you see even 200, but if you're seeing them getting up to 150 plus or 120 plus, then things like clutches and bits and bobs will start to go on them. But have a look at the history. I wouldn't rule them out if it's higher mileage. I'd definitely take it on a test drive, see how it feels, see how the clutch feels. Just listen for the engine, and yeah, there's a good chance you got a good deal, and you can kind of negotiate a bit on the price as well by pointing out that it's high mileage. But realistically, I'd look for something. I got this at 40,000 miles, which is a great deal. But anything from 40 to 100 is probably what you're looking at, and it should be fine. So in terms of costs and upkeep, I mean, basically, if you're not doing your own maintenance, the strategy I would do is put £500 away a year just as your emergency fund. I don't think you'd spend more than 500. Chances are you probably, if anything goes wrong, it's huge. They're so easy to work on, these cars, and the parts are so cheap and readily available that anything that could possibly go wrong, if you go to a decent, cheapo garage, then they'll be able to fix it for 100, 200 quid at most. What you will find is because the conventional wisdom is if something costs half as much to fix, or if there's a couple of things that need fixing, and it gets close to the value of the car, then people will start telling you to scrap it. But when you're at this low on the bottom of the market, then there's no reason to scrap it. 1 second. So as I was saying, yeah, when you're this low on the bottom of the market, even if you put in, over the course of 2 years, 600 quid, you're still quids in massively compared to, because the equivalent like new car on the market is probably like a Suzuki Swift or something. You're probably spending like 150 to 200 a month on a hire purchase agreement on one of those. So, and reality is, if you find a decent one, you're probably going to spend about £200 to £300 a year in maintenance and fixing bits and bobs. And even if you wanted to just run it into the ground, if you bought a cheap one for like 300 quid, you could just run it, and when it fails, you can basically get 150 to 200 scrap for it, and then get another one. So yeah, not that you should do that, because that's very cruel to micros, and it's good to keep them on the road. Yeah, so yeah, that's everything off the top of my head. But yeah, any questions, feel free to ask, and I will do my best to answer them. And subscribe and a like would be most appreciated. Cheers, bye.